other toons, it's very clear he has something to hide. When Dandy appears in the elevator, he also appears in the elevator, where you can purchase items from him after every other round. While Dandy often comes off as joyful and kind like many other toons, it's very clear he has something to hide. When Dandy appears in the elevator with his shop open, he is always expecting players to make a purchase. When you don't buy from him for the first time, he simply smiles and waves, expecting you'll buy the second time. But every time the player declines to purchase from his shop, players to make a purchase. When you don't buy from him for the first time, he simply smiles and waves, expecting you'll buy the second time. But every time the player declines to purchase from his shop, Dandy becomes more and more visibly frustrated, until finally, he snaps, eventually appearing as his twisted counterpart in the game. Dandy's twisted form is visibly much larger in comparison to normal, with his eyes now being red and having a wide smile with sharp teeth, his face looking very psychotic. His body is now a completely different shape, having structure very similar to a horse, with film tape wrapped around his body, the bottom half completely covered in ichor. His hands are now massive, with rainbow-colored claws matching his flower petals, and his flower petals on his head are now more pointed. Twisted Dandy not only looks insanely different in comparison to other Twisteds, but he is also lethal, meaning if you get hit by him once, you die, making him the only lethal Twisted in the entire game. Not only that, but once a machine is finished, he quickly goes after it. So when you finish a machine on a Dandy run, you'd best get out of there quickly. So needless to say, Twisted Dandy is very dangerous and should not be taken lightly. After his twisted form appears, he resets and pretends like nothing happened. Many people believe Dandy himself to be a possible antagonist in Dandy's world, and possibly even evil. Considering it's literally called Dandy's world, we can assume he has control over most things. And it's theorized that he may have done something questionable with the ichor operation, which is what turns toons into Twisteds to begin with. Despite this, it has still been confirmed by the creator that Dandy is not evil, rather he is just in the quote-unquote morally gray area. So he's probably done some bad things, but he isn't evil. Strangely enough, it appears as though Dandy chooses to ignore some of the main toons, but remains close with Astro. This is implied in some of the dialogues, like the one between V and Sprout. Why he chooses to ignore these toons is currently unknown. Dandy is a very interesting character, and I really hope we get to learn more about him soon. For his human design, I drew and colored his hair to resemble his flower petals. Since Dandy is, I guess you could say, the host of the entire game and the show, I feel like he'd definitely stand out more from the rest. So I went for a more formal approach on his clothes. He's wearing a vest with a mint green undershirt, also decorated with flower petal cuffs on the ends of his sleeves. He's wearing a flower tie with white and green stripes, and pants to match. Twisted Dandy was definitely a bit of a challenge to piece together with his human design, but I think I pulled it off pretty well, and it's definitely creepy. Here is Human Dandy. Don't let him find you. First up on this list, we've got Boxton. Boxton the Music Box is one of the 2 available starter toons in Dandy's world, right beside Poppy. Though, if you do choose Poppy instead, you can buy Boxton later on for 250 ichor. By the way, I got a lot of comments on my last video telling me I said ichor wrong. Apparently, it's ichor and not ichor. I get it, so stop bullying me. Anyways, Boxton appears as a purple music box with a key on the back of his head, and a somewhat shy-looking facial expression. A blue bandana is tied around his neck, and his pants are the same color blue, with darker blue stripes. His personality is described as very shy and introverted, frequently stuttering when he speaks. And it's apparent Boxton often overthinks things and worries a lot, as seen in many of his interactions with the other toons. Twisted Boxton is another very common Twisted you'll come across in Dandy's world. In his twisted form, Boxton's music box lid is now wide open, showing ichor leaking from the top. He wears a sinister smile on his face with sharp teeth, and his eyes are now red. 2 arms comprised of ichor can be seen reaching out of his head, as if they're in search for prey. Moving back to normal Boxton, he has decent stats in every category, making him a good all-rounder toon just like Poppy. And Boxton's ability, Wind Up, makes him gain 6% more extraction speed for every toon alive in the round, so he's very useful if you're in a lobby full of other players. For his human design, I drew Boxton with purple scruffy hair and included a wind-up key hairpin. I turned his striped blue pants into baggy arm warmers, and he's wearing a purple shirt and shorts, along with a blue tie in the middle. I included a band-aid on his face, cause I imagine Boxton to be a bit clumsy. And of course, I drew him in a cute, shy pose. And don't worry, I didn't forget about his twisted form. He went from cute and shy to straight up nightmare fuel. And the top of his head is sliced off, so that's cool. Here is human Boxton. Next up is Scraps. Scraps, the paper craft, appears to be made almost completely out of paper, also heavily resembling a cat. She has a hexagon-shaped head with triangle ears on top, as well as circular red hands and feet with claws. Her dress is an upside-down cupcake liner, and her tail also has a plastic cup on the end. 2 red lions can be seen on both of her eyes. Scraps loves making crafts and artwork, and overall is a very kind toon, caring for others, especially her little brother Goob. She's also described as somewhat airheaded, and maybe a bit immature at times, but nonetheless she's a great friend. Twisted Scraps, on the other hand, is a very rare type of twisted, appearing with now more grayed out skin, and her ears being much more long and sharp. Her facial expression is a psychotic wide smile, with very sharp teeth, and red eyes with cat-like pupils. Her claws are now sharper as well as her dress, and the plastic cup on her tail has now split down in the middle, having transformed into a reptile-like mouth with fangs. Ichor can be seen on several parts of her body. This twisted is very rare, and despite having played many times, I've only encountered her twice. However, when she does appear, her twisted form should definitely be avoided.